talk about the biggest elephant in the room, energy. Now, as events unfold at the presidency, Chief of Staff Julius Deborah has tasked a new technical committee with delivering a comprehensive roadmap to address the nation's power challenges by the end of today. This directive follows warnings from former Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor, who identifies fuel shortages as a critical factor behind a looming power crisis. We'll hear from Felix Ofosukwache, the special aide to the president, shortly on the outcome of the emergency meeting held earlier today. But first, here is John Jinapor expressing his concerns about the mounting debt owed to independent power producers, which further exacerbates the situation.
Yesterday, liquid fuel stock was at 05/01/2025. Current stock available. AXA, current stock available 225 cubic meters, expected to last for 5 hours, with AXA running at 120 megawatts. I don't know if you get that. KTPP, current stock available 1,275.46 cubic meters, expected to last for 1.5 days, with 1 unit running continuously, or 0.75 day, that's less than 1 day, for 2 units running continuously. So for AXA, the fuel available can last for 5 hours. For KTPP, the fuel available can last for less than 2 days. For Send Power, current stock available 293,000. Projected stock to last for 20.9 days, with 2 units running continuous. That's the briefing I got from Gridco. It's official. I will share the document with you. And so when your reporter asked what was the challenge, I said the main challenge would be to work around and deal with the fuel situation. I.e., how do we move from this 5 hours to 30 days immediately? How do we move from less than 2 days KTPP to 30 days immediately? And then more importantly, Send Power, where I elaborated. Send Power is indicated that they usually require 4 weeks to treat the fuel. With distillate fuel and heavy fuel oil, which can be used by AXA and KTPP, there's no issue. I also checked Asogle has no fuel. Asogle has no fuel, so there's no fuel stock at Asogle. But the problem is that even when you bring the fuel now, you will need to treat it. That is light crude oil. And so these are the facts. I mean, if anybody has counter facts, I've read Herbert Crapper's statement. He didn't give any figure. The question you ask is that, what are the figures? This came up at the transition team. It's not like nobody anticipated it. At the transition team, we invited WAPCO, because WAPCO was supposed to carry out the maintenance exercise in October 2024.
Meanwhile, Gridco has announced that the West African Gas Pipeline Company, which you know as WAPCO, has cut the gas supply for mandatory maintenance from January 20 to February 16, 2025. Joint News lead data research analyst Isaac Kofi has been studying 2 reports of the country's energy sector outlook for this year from Gridco and one also from the Energy Commission. Kofi, I like you in the studio because you put it in better perspective for me. What does the report from Gridco say?
So let's, first start with Gridco, and they are actually saying that just because WAPCO be doing that planned maintenance, we should be expecting a deficit in power generation of about 1,000 megawatts within this period from January 20 to February 16 of this year. We understand, just like Jinapor was putting it, that this planned maintenance was supposed to occur somewhere October 2024, but we understand the Ministry of Energy was able to negotiate for this to happen the first quarter of this year. Now, because you have such a huge, deficit or generation deficit, what we would have to do is that we need to now buy or make way for preparation for the procurement of light or liquid fuel. Now, with this liquid fuel that we are talking about, there is money at stake. We need money to buy the fuel. And that's about almost $90 million that we need to buy the fuel in order for us to plunge ourselves into this big deficit that we see. Now, away from the, a GRADECO report, which has a number of recommendations, I mean, they want the government to actually prioritize getting some of the indigenous, natural gas supply, especially focusing on tallow and then also ENI. But before, we even got this indication from GRADECO, the Energy Commission was the first to put out the 2025 energy sector outlook. It was done somewhere December, just a month ago, and it gave us a clear indication that this year fuel supply was going to be a big issue. And so if you see behind me, I mean, they were able to project how much we would need to buy fuel this year, and that's about $1.25 billion. If you compare it to last year's projection, $1.14 billion, if you do the math, the percentage change within the period is about 10%.
Did they factor in this nearly $90 million to
yes,
the yearly total?
Yeah, maybe, I mean, they factored in the fact that you'll be bringing, maybe WAPCO will be doing plant maintenance and all of that. But we all know that whether they do the maintenance or not, you still need such an amount of money for you to be able to be in a very safe position, $1.25 billion. And doing the math on a monthly basis, you would realize that you need about $100 million every month to buy fuel. And so if GRADECO is now quoting about, $90 million between 20th to 16th of February, 20th of this month to 16th of February, that tells you that they are even still within that, Energy Commission projection of $100 million every month. The bigger challenge here is that we all know that it's the fiscal situation. I mean, even you're asking the government to go and look for $90 million. Where are they going to find it in this first quarter? We all know how tight revenues in the first quarter are, especially forex and all of that. They also went ahead to speak about natural gas, which will continue to be the main, the dominant fuel for electricity generation in this year. Why? Because this is a country that gets about more than 60% of its, power from thermal generation. It means that at every point in time, gas becomes very, very important. They answered a very controversial question as to whether we will need to import fuel this year. Why? They based it on 2 or 3 different, factors. If there are faults and fuel supply contingencies. And at the moment, that is what we are faced with. There will be planned maintenances which will affect the supply of fuel. And according to the Energy Commission, if we are not able to do anything about that in our domestic space, then we may have to fall on maybe other countries to bring in fuel.
So the issue of mandatory maintenance for WAPCO, if the past or the immediate past government was able to get them to at least push it to this first quarter, is there in any way, we're waiting for the roadmap, but is there any way that the government can also still ask for some time? Is it possible that this planned maintenance can still be pushed further?
Yeah, I mean, the key question is the West African gas pipeline is not just about Ghana. It's about different countries. There's Benin involved, there's Togo involved. So if the 2 countries have agreed that the pigging should be done, and Ghana alone doesn't want it to be done because of certain circumstances, what are the likelihood that these 2 other countries will agree that this period, look, let's all agree to do it within this period? So it's not just about Ghana. I mean, in this process, it's a whole, chain of countries, and agreeing on a specific date becomes important. So if the 2 countries, Benin and Togo, have agreed that the pigging should continue or should be done between this period, and I think that Ghana should fall in line. And I know if you gauge the statements and the sentiments we are getting from the government, getting a roadmap by the end of today simply tells you that WAPCO, by hook or crook, would have to do the planned maintenance maybe within this period. Even if there will be an extension, I don't think that it will be as long as we enjoyed in October 2024.
You're kind, Kofi. Thank you so much. It's a good time to bring in Kojo Yauchega of Africa Center for Energy Policy. And the big question will be, Kojo, is doomsday really looming? I would believe what you say. I promise. Is it looming?
I think that question should really go to the system planners. They are the ones looking at the data. They know how much fuel we have and all of that. So, but what I can say is that there is an expected period that has been communicated that we should have some expectation that there are going to be fluctuations in power supply. That is, if the contingency measures that are supposed to be put in place are not put in place. That is between January 20th and February 16th. We should expect some fluctuations while we wait for what the technical committee is going to, the roadmap they are going to provide today. If the roadmap gives us some positive information on how they want to deal with the contingencies, then we may not necessarily have to experience that. But if they are not able to give us some positive outlook on how to deal with the contingency, then we should be expecting within that period at least that there will be some fluctuations in power supply.
You've mentioned positive outlook or outcome from the committee. Does that mean that you have some expectations from this roadmap, and what would that be?
No, there is a problem that we have to plan for. At least for now, we have some time. It's not like a fault that has developed that we have to fix. At least we have some time from now to the 20th to really, even though we are late with the planning, we still have some time to really fix some things, right? To put some things in place. So it is my expectation that whatever discussion is being had today should be forward-looking, should be looking at how we are going to provide some contingency for to fix the problem. But there are bigger problems that we have to really consider beyond the discussion that we are having today, including how do we fix efficiency in the distribution and all of that. Because what happens now is that wherever government is going to find the money to buy the fuel on a contingency basis, it means that they have to deprive some other budgeted item to make the fiscal space to be able to pump in this money. And we can have a power system that is consistently being subvented by the government. It has to run on its own. So that is the next step of the conversation that we need to have. But now we have a problem that we have to properly plan for. Once we get a roadmap, then we can begin a conversation of how to properly strategically plan the power system so that we will not be addressing some of these problems on an ad hoc or emergency basis. Because what happens then is that now if we want to make an order for fuel, I can bet you that it's going to be much more expensive than if we had made the order in October.
In October, okay.
The enough time. So all of that is piling cost on the system.
Well, Kojo, so is there a possibility that would have this nearly $90 million and yet won't be able to get fuel? Is that a possibility? Because it sounds to me as though the main challenge is where we're going to get the money, at least to survive in this first quarter. But is there a challenge of us not even getting fuel at all?
No, it's possible that we're going to get the fuel.
Okay.
There are vessels that are, around the oceans. Any of them, if you have the money, can reroute. If you're able to meet their asking price, can reroute, get to town. So if you have the money, you can be able to quickly mobilize and find some vessel to bring in the fuels that you need in time to meet the scheduled maintenance phase.
So, Tema Oil Refinery, can it play any role at all? Many have said that it is dead. Many have said it is not dead. But does it have any form of awakening? Can it play any role at all?
Tema Oil Refinery has not been operational since 2021. So you can imagine if you want to revive it now, then you have to do some significant retooling of the infrastructure to be able to do any refinery. But the problem with the Tema Oil Refinery that we have always recounted has been how the company is being managed. And I think it's symptomatic with all the state-owned enterprises within the energy space that are not being run as they should. We've allowed politics to run our institutions to the extent that there is no way we can be able to regulate the enterprises to ensure some efficiency in them. And last year, you saw how ECG was fighting with their regulator in the media and all of those things. It really shows some power play because we are all appointed by the president. There's nothing you can tell me, that kind of politics, and it affects how the entities are being managed to ensure that there is optimum value for consumers. In an ideal case, the oil refinery should be in a position to be able to quickly make available some of these fuels for the plants to be able to use if they were operating. But they've not been operational for close to 5 years now, and this is not the time to call on them to do that. We need to have also a roadmap on how we deal with the toll problem, because it still remains a strategic national asset that we have to work on. I just wanted to touch on something Kofi mentioned about the cost of the gas procurement. If you do the numbers, you will see that Ghana using gas, natural gas for power production, is actually cheaper than using liquid fuels. Okay. Because if you if you look at how much we are buying gas and how much petroleum products cost on the global market, and you do the comparison, we're actually saving money. And to the extent that we are even using domestic gas, we are saving about $350 million annually from using our own gas to produce power. So we have to really move the conversation away from where we have to be relying on liquid fuels to how do we sustainably ensure that there is always natural gas available to meet the demand that we have, so that we'll be able to save more cost, because we can't go back to the era where, away from sustainability concerns of using liquid fuels, there is also the issue of cost, where they are much more expensive and a bigger burden on the power sector than the gas supply that we have.
Well, Kojo, the day is almost ending. We're all looking forward to that roadmap from the committee that's been set up. And so I'll have your full attention maybe tomorrow, or maybe subsequently in our bulletin when that roadmap is ready, and then we'll pick up the conversation. But thank you for staying with us on the Pulse. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Please stay.